Hello, this is Ziemovit about history, and today I will cover the history of Visigothic tribe, the west part of the Gothic tribe, which fled from the Huns and was able to establish very strong state in present Spain. But how it started? It started in the year 375, where Huns suddenly invaded Eastern Europe, and on the steppe of present-day Ukraine they fought against the Goths, and the Goths lose the fight against Huns, and they were divided into two parts. Ostrogoths, the Eastern Goths, were vassals of the Huns, and the Western Goths managed to flee and remain independent first in the Balkans and in the southern Balkans, in the present-day northern Greece and Bulgaria, and later they moved to present-day Croatia and Slavonia. And from this territory, from their settlements there, they helped in internal struggles in Eastern Roman Empire in year 398, and after this struggle they were also involved in fights on the western part of the empire. Alaric, a leader of the Visigoths, was leading his tribe with Romans, hand in hand with Roman legions, and they were fighting Franks in Gaul, and they won, but they lost a lot of men. But this high price paid in blood was not a big deal for Alaric, but the most important was damage for his ego, for his pride, for his honor, because he didn't gain any recognition from the Roman emperor. So he changed his sides and decided to attack Western Roman Empire. First, he attacked northern Italy, but he lost some battles. He even lost his family. They were captured by Romans, and Honorius, the emperor of Western Roman Empire, offered him peace, offered him to give him the family back, but Alaric said, "No, I will not make peace with you, I will fight you to the death." It was surprising, but even though he lost some battle, he was very determined to make his revenge on Romans. And few years later, perfect circumstances emerged in Europe, and he was able to make his revenge. In year 406, great horde of Vandals, Swedes, and Sarmatic Alans crossed Ren River, and they fled to Gallia, and they established their states there. And also in this chaos brought by this very big Germanic hordes spilling into the empire, Britannia was abandoned by the Roman legions in year 407. So the Western Roman Empire was in great chaos, and this was the great opportunity for Alaric to strike. And he did so. He attacked, and he managed to took very big ransom from the Romans. It pains them very much to pay 4,000 pounds of pure gold to this barbaric horde. So his invasion was very successful. He lost almost no troops, and he gained a lot of wealth. So in the next year, he made another expedition to Italy, and this time in year 408, he managed to besiege Rome, and Roman Emperor Honorius gave them very big tribute, containing 5,000 pounds of gold, 30,000 pounds of silver,
4,000 silk ropes and 3,000 pounds of pepper.
So this expedition was also very successful. They besieged the biggest city in the world and they gained a lot of wealth and they lost almost no soldiers. So 2 years later, Alaric came again with his Germanic horde and they besieged Rome again. But this time, Romans were unable to pay the enormous sums they want them to pay for leaving them alone, and so he decided to attack and he breached the walls, and for the next few days Visigothic horde was sacking Rome and only people who were escaping to the churches were left safely. Rest was robbed and most of them, of course, slain by this Germanic horde. And this was the first time from 800 years from the Celtic conquest of Rome in the beginning of 3rd century BC. Now 800 years later, Rome was conquered and sacked for another time. It was a very important event. This news spread like echo through the world, and this was the end of some age. After conquering Rome, Alaric moved south to gather some supplies for his army because he had a lot of gold, he has a lot of silver, a lot of paper, salt, silk clothes, but they don't have food and they struggle for food. But few months later he died from sickness, and finally Visigothic horde moved to Gaul, and in present-day Aquitania they established their state. And from this territory, another Visigothic leader, Valia, was conquering territories in present-day Spain, because Valia took Honorius's daughter as a wife, and he felt he's almost a Roman emperor, so he was willing to cooperate in some degree with the Romans. And on their behalf, he conquered big territories in present-day Spain. He got rid of Vandals and Suebi and Alani tribes in central Spain. Even he tried to conquer Africa, but great storm crushed his fleet, so he was unable to finish this conquest. After Valia was another great Visigothic king, Theodoric I.
Theodoric ruled the Visigoths from 418. Even though they are formally Foederati of Rome, they are expanding their territories at the expense of the weakening Roman Empire. When, for example, in 422, the Roman legions were sent south to defeat the Vandals in Spain, Theodoric very eloquently remained neutral, which in turn led to the defeat of the Romans in the interior of Spain and the virtual loss of control over the large peninsula. The Visigoths gradually occupied Gallia Narbonne in 30s of 5th century. As Rome became weaker, the Huns came to aid legions as mercenaries. But even these combined forces are unable to defeat Theodoric's Germanic horde. However, the situation in Spain changed greatly in favor of the Visigoths. In 427, a civil war breaks out in Africa, and Boniface, now calling himself the Lord of Africa, summons Genseric, the ruler of Vandals. They leave the Iberian Peninsula and establish a country in Africa that will last over 100 years. Theodoric's daughter was even married to Hunaric, son of Vandal king, but later Vandals murdered her and sent back her parts to Theodoric, what caused great hostility between these Germanic tribes. But situation in Europe changed dramatically in 451, when a huge Han army leading numerous allied tribes westward, including the Ostrogoths, appeared in the Catalan fields. At the historical moment, the Visigoths side with the Romans, and in this colossal battle they defeat Attila, and Theodoric himself dies a glorious death in this legendary battle. Immediately on the battlefield, his son Torismund was enthroned by his warriors. However, he does not enjoy a long reign like his father, because only 2 years later he died at the hands of his brother Theodoric II. He ruled in years 453-466 and significantly extended the power of Visigoths in Spain, which was almost defenseless because Rome was unable to provide it with military support. The dominant power of the peninsula are the Germanic Suebi, who occupied its northwest areas. Theodoric II set out against the Suebi and in 456 defeats them in the battle on Orbigo River, then moves further west and conquers, among others, Braga and Porto in present-day Portugal. He also catches the king of Suebi, and after his death, this quite strong state falls into small parts. However, Theodoric II shares the fate of his murdered older brother. He is also slain by his younger brother, Euricus. Euricus ruled for next 20 years, occupying Provence extended north to the Loire and Rhine rivers. In the south, he conquers practically the entire peninsula, except of the northwestern mountainous regions where the Suebi principalities remain independent. Euric dies in 484, and he was the first Visigothic ruler since 411 who died in his bed and was not murdered. The Visigoths are then ruled by Alaric II. This is the time of rapid expansion of Franks under Chlodwig. He first defeats the Alemanni tribe in the east, then Burgundians in the southeast, and in 507 he attacks the Visigoths. There is a great battle of Voyer, in which the Visigoths lose and Alaric II dies. The Franks continue their march south, capture the capital city of Visigoths, Toulouse, and press on, reaching even Barcelona. Meanwhile, Ostrogoths came to rescue their cousins, and they somehow managed to push the Franks back north at the cost of large territorial losses. The Visigoths are only left with the small strip called Septimania. Now the weight of Visigothic state shifts completely to the south, and it can be said that the state becomes Spain. After his death, his illegitimate son becomes the ruler, Genseric. However, he is not liked by the Ostrogoths, and he is defeated by the Ostrogothic king Theodoric the Great, and power passes into the hands of the minor Amalaric, who de facto is controlled by the Ostrogothic governor. However, with the death of Great Theodoric, the supremacy of Ostrogoths disappears. Amalaric rules for several years, marry Clothilda, the daughter of Chlodwig, and he tried to somehow protect his northern borders in this way. But Visigoths were now becoming more important as they are not Catholics but Arians. They were infected with this heresy in Balkans at the end of 4th century, and now Chlothar, the son of Chlodwig, is a zealous Catholic neophyte. So he invites the Visigoths again, and Amalaric dies in battle in 531. Then the rule of the Bald dynasty ends and the Ostrogothic governor Taudis takes over, followed by his sons. The name of the first Visigothic dynasty is very interesting. It brings the mind of the Baltic Sea. And as we remember, the Goths in the 1st century AD crossed the sea and settled south in Pomerania. Thus the name Bald dynasty means that the Visigothic kings are the one who sailed across the Baltic Sea. In 30s and 40s of the 6th century, there were a time of rebuilding the Roman Empire by Justinian the Great. He fights heavy battles with Ostrogoths in Italy, destroys the Vandal kingdom in Africa, and heads towards the shores of Spain. Theudis, ruler of Visigoths, is too weak to repel Byzantium, and he is losing his foothold in Africa, which he gained by taking advantage of the fall of the Vandal kingdom. After his death, a civil war breaks out and the country is reunited in 554 by Atanagil. He's trying to displace the Romans from the southeast, but his successes in this matter are limited. But later, situation of the Byzantines became difficult. In 568, the Longobarд chief Albonius led a contingent that ravaged North Italy. Same year, Avars devastated Byzantine provinces in Balkans. Visigothic king Leovigild was aware that the Byzantines had many open fronts and that they could not send military support to Spain as they had done before in 552 and 555. So, in 570, Leovigild entered Byzantine territories, pillaging as far as outskirts of Malaga. In 572, he attacked in the night and captured Cordoba. Then he took opportunity to take other cities and castles, killing many peasants. In 574, Leovigild entered Cantabria, occupied the city Amaya, seized its riches, and killed those who controlled the region. 3 years later, Leovigild entered Orospeda, conquering its cities and castle. Shortly thereafter, a peasant revolt occurred, which was suppressed, leaving the region completely under Visigothic control. In 578, the only year of peace during his reign, Leovigild found a city which he named Recopolis, after his son Recaredo. The ruins of this city are located in Soriata de los Cones in province Guadalajara. Goswinta, Leovigild's wife, with fake enthusiasm welcomed the arrival of Catholic princes from the Franks, Hermenegildo's wife, and tried flattery to convince her to convert to Arianism. However, this attempt failed and she eventually forced her to confess Arianism. When Leovigild gave Hermenegildo one of his cities, his Frankish wife began trying to convert him to Catholicism, and she succeeded. Then Hermenegildo took the Catholic name Juan and revolted against his father. Leovigild, with Byzantine support, tried to stop his son from rebelling. He tried to meet him, but he failed. But when Hermenegildo went to war with his father, Seeing that he is abandoned by the Byzantines, he decided to take refuge in the church. Leovigaldo then sent his other son, Recaredo, to tell Hermenegildo to be considerate with his father, and he intended to forgive him. Hermenegildo fell on his face, and upon arriving at the camp, he was stripped and forced to wear poor people's clothes. Then they arrived to Toledo. Leovildo took all the Hermenegildo's servants except one and sent him to exile. Now the story of King Ricaredo I. In 584, desiring to establish contact and alliance with the Franks, he sent ambassadors to marry Riguanda, daughter of Cliperic I, king of Neusteria. After the marriage has been agreed, Riguada was sent south with a rich dowry in August 584 to the Visigothic kingdom of Spain to marry Recaredo. After a very eventful journey with lots of robberies, after which she had nothing left, she finally reached Toulouse, where she received news of the murder of her father, and her marriage to the Visigothic king no longer made sense as an alliance between the kingdoms. A short time after, maintaining the same desire to associate with Franks, Recaredo sent a new delegation of ambassadors to marry Clodosilda, daughter of King Sigbert I, but negotiations failed from unknown reasons. Then Recaredo I makes a historical change because in 589 he called a council in Toledo, and there he gave up Arianism and converted to Catholicism. Recaredo ordered to burn all Arian books, exclude Arians from all public offices, and suppress the Arian church, which disappeared within a few years. Some Visigothic nobles were forced to convert to Catholicism. Hostilities with Burgundy, suspended in 586, were suddenly reanimated in 589. Burgundian forces under the command of Bosso advanced south on Carcassonne, which was apparently occupied but were defeated by Visigoths forces under the command of Claudius. The Burgundians left 5,000 bodies and 2,000 prisoners in this field. The defeat was complete and the safety of Septimania was assured. Ricaredo died in 601 and then his minor son took power. However, he was overthrown and killed 2 years later, but the usurper does not rule for a long time. And overall, this led to a serious crisis of power in the Visigothic kingdom. In the entire 7th century, there is no king who ruled for more than 10 years, except Cindasvinto, who took over the country in 642 at the age of 79, and he ruled for another 11 years, living to age 90, and he was the oldest king of Europe in whole early medieval ages. Due to the lack of external enemies, the kings of Spain naturally found some insight. In 7th century, the Jews were the target. Their numbers have increased significantly in recent years as they fled from the areas occupied by the rapid Islam conquest. The last king of Visigoths, Rodrigo, began his reign in 701. He came to power by force, which caused a split of the kingdom. Some territories rebelled, and he has strong opposition in the country itself. And to the top of all, in 711, an unknown Arabian Berber leader, Tariq ibn Ziyad, crossed the Strait of Gibraltar and invaded South Spain, while King Rodrigo was busy fighting the Basques far in the north. With such a good strategic position, the Visigoths failed to secure the south, which is why Tariq ibn Ziyad campaign turns out to be incredible success. The Visigothic army arrived south in July 711, and in the Battle of Guadalete, Visigothic forces were defeated by the Arab invaders because part of the army abandoned the king, and in this situation he died fleeing from the battlefield. After this initial very easy victory, Tariq ibn Ziyad arrived again with larger army, and his overlord Musa, the Umayyad ruler of West Africa, came with him. In such unexpected circumstances, in 5 years to 716, almost all Spain and Portugal fell under Muslim rule, except of very north reaches, the Cantabrian Mountains, where the Muslims lose Battle of Covadonga in 722, which will give the rise of Kingdom of Asturias. The Moors press further north and will be stopped only by the Charles Martel in the Battle of Poitiers in 732. It is amazing that the mighty Visigothic kingdom fell so quickly. Roderick completely underestimated the serious problem from the south. Tariq ibn Ziyad made his fate conquest having only 7,000 men, when at this time Visigoths could have fielded at least 5 times as many warriors. So after this very rapid conquest, Muslims took over the Iberian Peninsula for almost 8 centuries and will be crushed in Granada in 1492. But that's another story, the story of Reconquista, and today, finishing the history of the Visigothic Kingdom of Spain, I invite you to watch this movie. Subscribe to my channel. It was Ziemovit about history. Thank you for watching and see you again.